breaking news coming down late Wednesday. Alex Bregman has signed a 3-year, $120 million deal with the Boston Red Sox. It's being reported that Bregman turned down a 6-year deal worth $170 million in favor of signing with Boston. There is Bregman, the longtime Astro, 9 seasons there, 2 World Series crowns. We dive into it. JP Morosi with us. Your reaction to this big late-breaking news?
Tony, this is significant news. First of all, we can now officially begin spring training now that Alex Bregman has signed. This was really the last major bit of news we were waiting on. And there were a number of teams still involved. The Cubs, the Tigers. There was still that lingering possibility that he would go back to Houston. But this changes, Tony, the American League East, because the Boston Red Sox now have a legitimate lineup to threaten that of the New York Yankees, and here's why. The Yankees have lost Juan Soto. Yes, they were able to add in Cody Bellinger and Paul Goldschmidt, but Bregman is a proven postseason performer who they can now add into this lineup with Rafael Devers. They've got a promising group of young players coming in, like Roman Anthony, Christian Campbell, Marcelo Meyer at some point, whether it's this year or next year. And here is what the lineup could look like. It's interesting that we have it on the graphic, and it's a very legitimate question where exactly Bregman's going to play, because he could play second, but that would mean that Christian Campbell would not be in the lineup. If Bregman were to play third, that means Devers is the DH, and Masataka Yoshida could be on the move via trade. So there's still some secondary and tertiary effects of this signing for the Boston Red Sox, but John Heyman was first to report it. And Tony, the key thing here is flexibility on both sides. Bregman gets that $40 million AAV, but he can opt out after 25. He can opt out after 26. And the Red Sox avoid that sort of long-term commitment that could really impact the long-term future of someone like a Christian Campbell.
This prompts the question, what's next for Nolan Arenado?
Yeah, Tony, it's a great question that you ask, because Arenado is now that next domino to fall with the third base conversation. A lot of the same teams we were hearing on Bregman had interest as well in Nolan Arenado. And the 10-time Gold Glover, one of the preeminent defenders of his time at any position, it seems as though his time with St. Louis is winding down, but they've had a hard time finding a team that can take on the entire salary. So the natural pivot could be the Detroit Tigers. The Tigers maybe weren't the team that Arenado thought he was going to at the outset, but certainly the Tigers right now, Tony, a better chance to make the playoffs than the Cardinals have. A young team in Detroit that would certainly benefit from Arenado's leadership.
Blockbuster trade. Dodgers reignite talks for Nolan Arenado. Introduction. What's up, Dodgers fans? We've got some major breaking news. The Dodgers have reportedly re-engaged in trade discussions with the St. Louis Cardinals for none other than Nolan Arenado. That's right, the 10-time Gold Glove winning third baseman could be heading to Los Angeles, and the details of this potential trade are absolutely wild. The Cardinals weren't willing to pay any of his remaining contract at first, but now they've changed their stance. And guess what? The Dodgers could be getting cash considerations on top of Arenado in this deal. It's a potential heist for LA. But does it actually make sense for the Dodgers? And what would this mean for Max Muncy, Chris Taylor, and the rest of the roster? Stick around as we break down all the details, possible trade scenarios, and the impact this move could have on the Dodgers' World Series chances. And hey, if you love Dodgers news and analysis, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a video. The trade proposal, what's on the table? According to reports, the Dodgers and Cardinals are discussing a deal that would send Chris Taylor and Tony Gonsolin to St. Louis in exchange for Nolan Arenado and $8 million in cash considerations. Yes, you heard that right. The Dodgers would actually be getting money back in this deal. Now, let's break this down. First, Chris Taylor. We all love him. He's a Swiss Army knife, a postseason hero, and a fan favorite. But with the Dodgers' roster depth, especially after re-signing Kike Hernandez, Taylor's role has become a bit more uncertain. This trade would clear up space and allow Hernandez to take over as the primary utility man. As for Tony Gonsolin, it's tough to see him go, but let's be honest, the Dodgers are stacked in the starting rotation. With Walker Buehler returning, Shohei Ohtani expected to pitch in 2025, Tyler Glasnow now in the mix, plus guys like Bobby Miller and Emmett Sheehan stepping up. The Dodgers can afford to part ways with Gonsolin if it means upgrading at third base. Why this trade makes sense for the Dodgers? This trade would be another stroke of genius by Andrew Friedman and the Dodgers front office. Here's why. 1. A defensive upgrade at third base. We all love Max Muncy, but let's be real, defense isn't his strong suit. Nolan Arenado? One of the best defensive third basemen of all time. He's won 10 Gold Gloves, and even in his worst season, he's still a defensive force. Adding Arenado to the Dodgers' infield would immediately strengthen their defense and improve their overall run prevention. 2. Buying low on a superstar. Arenado is coming off his worst offensive season, posting a .718 OPS in 2024. But let's not forget, this guy is still an elite talent. Just a year prior, he was an All-Star, Silver Slugger, and finished third in MVP voting. A change of scenery and the protection of a stacked Dodgers lineup could be exactly what he needs to bounce back. 3. Financial flexibility. Yes, really. On the surface, Arenado's contract might seem expensive, but if the Cardinals are sending cash considerations, that actually offsets the cost. Plus, by moving Chris Taylor's salary, the Dodgers aren't taking on as much additional payroll as it might seem at first glance. The big question, where does Arenado fit in the lineup? Now, here's where things get crazy. On most teams, Nolan Arenado is a middle-of-the-order bat. But on this Dodgers squad, he might be hitting 7th, 8th, or even 9th. Just imagine that for a second, Arenado batting 9th in an already loaded lineup that features Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Shohei Ohtani, and Teoscar Hernandez. That's ridiculous. Even if Arenado isn't the same hitter he once was, he's going to see better pitches in this lineup than he ever did in St. Louis. And that could lead to a huge bounce-back season in Dodger Blue. How would the rest of the roster be affected? Trading Chris Taylor clears up the infield and utility depth chart, but what about Max Muncy? Would he shift to a DH role more often? And how would this affect Miguel Rojas, Tommy Edman, and Kike Hernandez? The Dodgers could use Arenado as their everyday third baseman, move Muncy to more of a DH/backup role, and still have plenty of infield flexibility with Edman, Rojas, and Hernandez moving around as needed. It also helps that Shohei Ohtani won't be pitching in 2024, meaning the DH spot is more flexible for at least one more season. How will other teams react? Let's be honest, if this trade happens, every other fan base is going to lose their minds. Yankees fans, Mets fans, Braves fans, you name it, they're all going to be furious that the Dodgers managed to pull off yet another blockbuster heist. And you know what? Let them be mad. The Dodgers are playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers. This move would be another masterclass in roster building, and it would push the Dodgers even closer to a World Series championship in 2025. Final thoughts. So, Dodgers Nation, what do you think? Should the Dodgers go all in and make this deal happen? Would you be willing to part with Chris Taylor and Tony Gonsolin for Nolan Arenado? Or do you think the Dodgers should hold off and look at other trade options? Let me know in the comments. And if you love Dodgers content, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching, and as always, go Dodgers!